Hi, how are you? How's your mom? I'm currently setting you up. I think you're tall enough now for me.
Hey, hi! How are you? Everything okay? I hope everything is cool for you. Hello! Last time I sat down and I took one of your suggestions to make a video, and it was for me to recommend books written by Arab authors or Arabic translated books, Arabic books translated into English and other languages, depending on what you read and speak and use and stuff, but written by Arab people. And I have gathered a pretty amazing collection, in my opinion, of books that I personally love, read and liked and adored, and you loved it, so I thought I'd do it again with even more recommendations. I'm gonna start with my favorite out of the four. I don't care. I love this book so much, and I've been absolutely loving this author, and I've talked about some of their books in the previous video of me recommending books, and the author is Ghassan Kanfani. I've been just devouring the content that this author has produced. So starting with Returning to Haifa by Ghassan Kanfani, or Going Back to Haifa. I always forget the English version. Although I read it, I always forget the title of the English version. So it's one of those things. In Arabic, it is called Aid ila Haifa. The story follows Said and Sophia, whom in 1948, when the Haifa massacre had happened, had to flee their house abruptly, and they had to leave their child behind. So we start off with that cold opening, just rugged fucking opening, and then we forward 20 years later when they are allowed to go back again to their country, to their home where they left their child, and they do decide to actually take the chance and go back looking for him, even though Said tells Sophia that it is a lost cause because they have accepted their fate and they have just accepted the world that they live in and the situation, the dire situation that they live in, and what's possible, what's not, what's reality to these people and what's not real. But Sophia insists, and they do go back to Haifa, and when they do go back, they actually manage to find their lost son, who is now of course 20 years older. However, the twist happens when they meet him, and they meet his foster mother, or the mother that has adopted him, that has taken him, because we found out that their son has now a changed name and a changed personality, like a complete 180, and he is actually an Israeli soldier. The book is very short. I am actually gonna show you my copy. So this is my copy of the book. It's the Arabic version, and as you can see, it's a very short story. The entirety of the story just takes place a page or two at the beginning while the massacre happens, and then them, Said and Sophia, traveling back to Haifa, you know, and then them getting into the home, and the majority of the story, the entire weight of the story takes place in the home, and Said and Sophia's conversation, their banter with their child's adopted mother, and then their child comes, and it's the entire book just takes place during that conversation, and it actually ends as they are leaving the apartment. I found that it's an incredibly interesting premise. Just the premise alone, I mean, who can read that premise and not be intrigued by the story itself? And I was intrigued, of course, and after reading the book, it didn't only reach expectations but completely shattered it. It's simple, it's easy, it's very short, and it's an eye-opener, definitely. And I like when I read books like this that are not biased, even when they have a right to be biased, but still they remain neutral, they remain in the gray area, and they're just speaking about their own experience, the either author's own experience, having been non-fiction, or the character's own experience, without spewing hate on either side or anything like that. I like when books do that, and in my opinion, this was just an incredibly eye-opening story. The next one is actually a collection of poetry that I read digitally and I really liked. It's called Rifka by Mohammed Al-Kurd. I immediately thought of recommending Rifka after I recommended this one because the writing style, Rifka is a debut novel. I wanted to recommend it after this because the writing of Rifka, it reminded me of sort of and I don't mean this in a bad way for Ghassan Kanfani, of course, like I just raved about my love for this author, but it reminded me of a fresher view of Hassan Kanfani. Like if Hassan Kanfani was like this generation of Hassan Kanfani, you know? And I really like that, and I think it could be an amazing gateway book to read in more complex literature or more complex poetry. This one is a collection of poetry about the author's own experience. And the title of the book, Rifka, is actually named after the author's grandmother who had to flee, who had to abruptly leave Haifa. So you can see that it's gonna be personal, and it felt like that. It felt heartfelt and it felt personal, yet still remains approachable and well done enough to even entertain, if not to, you know, get completely sucked in. I don't know if this point is gonna make sense to a lot of people, but I like in my head it makes sense, but trying to say it, what is in my head, I realize that it cannot make sense. But the moments from poem to poem, like those small moments after reading a poem before you start another poem, were vital and pivotal and gut-wrenching. Personally, in those moments between poem to poem, I could feel in the most simple, succinct wording the inescapable heartbreak. As a whole, it was just brilliant and outstanding in my opinion. The next one is called Lights in Gaza, Writings Born of Fire. That is a collective like effort by different authors actually, and this one was sensational and surrealistic and incredible. The premise alone was just mesmerizing. So it presents Gaza in 1948, and then though proceeds in an imagined future written as short essays going back as far as 2050, I believe. So it's kind of a collection of essays imagining what Gaza would have been like had not what happened to it, had the Haifa massacre did not happen to it, had the like the entire collection of massacres had not happened to it. And I found that premise to be both heartbreaking and extremely endearing and mind-opening. And there's a fly going in circles on the camera, so if you can see it, my apologies, just ignore it, okay? Yeah, thank you. The last one that I wanted to recommend was, yes, my favorite is Going Back to Haifa, Returning to Haifa, but this was the most beautiful. Going Back to Haifa is just, I keep going back to it, it's my favorite, but it's just guttural, and it's somber, and it's calm, like nothing happened. They're in the car, nothing happened, but you know what I mean, like it's not like an intensely plot-driven story or whatever. They're in the car, they get to the home, and they just speak. For the entirety of the book, they just speak, and it's just heart-wrenching. But this one is just beautifully written. It's gorgeous. So it is called Against the Loveless World by Susan Abu Hawa. I found this one like gorgeous and an outstanding meld between fiction and non-fiction. I think I recommended another Susan Abu Hawa book in my first and the last video that I recommended Arab books, and I mentioned the same thing. The way they mix fiction and fact, or have facts wrapped in fiction, it's just brilliant. It's just outstanding. This one follows a character called Nahar, and as she grows up, she slowly becomes more aware, like progressively, little by little, step by step, of her surroundings and her life in Palestine as a Palestinian, and aware of the life that she should have, the life that she could have had. They're all like stories of heartbreak and stuff, so I don't want just to exclude this one and say it's a story of heartbreak, blah 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 blah. But yeah, give them a chance. Really, they're worth it. They're very much incredible books by incredible authors. I hope you can find something in these 4 books and in the last video that you can actually take and try for yourself. If you have any suggestions, just let me know and I will definitely check them out. Or if you want more Arab suggestions in any genre, let me know and I'll read more and recommend more, because I am very biased because I'm Arab. Other than that though, thank you so much for watching. I love you and I'm gonna see you next video.